FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
You know, poverty is the thing that I've sort of taken on as a personal cause, which some of you know. I've been running a poverty center at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I consider this a moral issue and an economic issue. I think it is a drag on the American economy if we have millions and millions of people who are literally worried about survival. And I think it says something about our character if we turn our heads and allow millions of our own people to be worried about survival. And the question is, what are we going to do about it? Because the great argument on the other side is we fought a war on poverty, it didn't work. And the poor will always be among us, and there's nothing we can do to stop this. That's not the truth. Most Americans, and the picture people get in their head about people who live below the poverty line are the people sleeping under bridges, right? Most Americans who live in poverty work full time. That is the truth. But they can't earn enough. They don't have health care coverage. They have nothing to fall back on. They don't save anything. And then, by the way, half the bankruptcies in America are the result of health care costs. What we know is they live on the edge. They live on the edge of the razor every day, and it takes almost nothing to put them in the ditch. And once they're in the ditch, they can't get out. There's nothing they can do. So what can we do? Just a couple ideas, and then I'm going to start taking your questions. We just finally raised the national minimum wage after a decade. It's going to go to $7.25 an hour. Great. It's not enough. The national minimum wage ought to be at least $9.50 an hour. It ought to be indexed so that it goes up on its own. We should not have to keep going back to the Congress and fighting this battle every year or 2 years to get the minimum wage raised. It ought to go up on its own. I talked earlier about the expansion of the Earned Income Tax Credit, which has a direct impact on low-income families. I think we ought to make it easier for workers to organize into unions, because you see, if you work in a union, you're much more likely to earn a decent wage, to have health care coverage, and to have pension protections. And right now our laws are slanted. They're slanted against workers who are trying to organize themselves into unions. I think we have a dysfunctional housing policy in America. It doesn't work. What we've done for decades is we've clustered poor people together. It's a mistake. It feeds the cycle of poverty. What we want to do instead is we want to break down these economic and racial barriers that exist in so many cities in this country. What I propose is we have 1 million new Section 8 housing vouchers. We have people who are waiting 5 to 7 years to get a Section 8 housing voucher. Where are they supposed to live in the interim? So we want to use those vouchers, though, in a different way. We want to use them to help integrate neighborhoods, integrate them economically, and integrate them racially.